Okay. We're going to start at a Mishnah on Kuf Ayin, 170. Okay, we thank Hashem we're able to learn Torah every day. It's about learning Mishnah B'Shem English immediately. Learning Lul Nishma, Sabbath the Basra Daf and Son Sabbath Tzien. And for Shleim, then Sarah. Kelly gets a little yes when she gets Torah. My father. Then Miriam Adel. And the Mishnah says like this: Misha Paramikta Schleivai. Someone that borrowed money and he paid half back. Talking about that there was a document. He borrowed money with a document and then he paid half of it back. So now the question is, what do you do? Yeah, the document says that he owes $100. He already paid 50. So Rabbi Yehuda says Yachlef. You have to rewrite the document. Tear up this document and write another document that says that he borrowed $50. A brand new document. Rabbi Yossi says Yichlev Shaver. No, you use the original document, but you write a receipt for the loiva, for the borrower, that he's paid already $50. When the malva, when the lender, creditor takes out the document to collect the $100, he says, no, this is here, look here, 50 is already paid. Have a receipt. Rabbi Yehuda says, then the borrower is going to need to hold on to his document his whole life, because maybe the lender is gonna bring out the document for $100. The borrower who has a receipt that he pays, that he has already paid $50, is if he loses that receipt, he's gonna lose another $50. So Rabbi Yossi says, well, why is that better than the other way? One second. Who are you trying to help over here? The borrower is the one that he has to go out of his way to pay back. We don't want to put the lender to go out of his way. So the borrower should have to hold on to the receipt and should try to pay back right away. So time doesn't go by. The more time goes by that he doesn't pay back, the more chances are that he'll lose his receipt. We don't want him to delay payment. So okay, Adarabba, so good. So pay quickly. Okay. Rav Yudah Rav. Yudah says in the name of Rav, Ein halacha like Rabbi Yehuda, like Rabbi Yossi. Allah is not like Rabbi Yehuda, and Allah is not like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, ever machlekes. You say that Allah is not like either of them. Ella, rather, Bezdin Mekar Nashtar V'Kaisim Leishtarachim is Manrishan. Happens is that it's not the witnesses that rewrite the new document. It has to be done in Bezdin. The reason for this is because we're going to go back and we're going to write that the debt took place, the lending took place back at the original time. The problem is when you write a new document, you're going to end up writing in the document the date that the document's written. So when you rewrite the document, the lien on the borrower's properties that the lender has because he lent him money is going to restart. And it's going to be, so if there are properties that were sold prior to that lien, he won't be able to collect from it. So what we need to do is we need to go to Besdin, have a document written from back. How could they do that? How could they write a document back? And then if today is, they're writing it from 6 months ago. Well, Hefker, Besdin, Hefker. Besdin is allowed to remove properties or any sort of assets from one to another. So they're allowed to do that. So the Besdin can control that sort of thing, and they can write the document from. It's not even antedated. It's not predated. It's from the original loan. That's was the original loan. Okay. So that's what the statement of Rav is. Rashba mentions Rav Tanahu Palig. Rav is a Tana and he can argue. Now, the wording of Rav Huna Amarav, Ein halacha like Rabbi Yehuda like Rabbi Yossi ala bezdin makar nashtar b'ketz nishtarachim zman rishon, doesn't look like that's the position that Rav's taking. Rav's not arguing. He's not arguing. He's saying that the halacha is not like them. This arguing would look, the wording would look a little different. The wording would look, Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, ignore Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi and just say, bezdin makar nishtar. So how does he say that? Did we have other opinions? He said, well, Rav Tano. But here he's saying the halacha is not like them. It's sort of like he's paskening. It's not, I don't know. I guess it's okay. Okay. It's a third opinion is what we're getting over here. Rav is an exception. Rav is an exception. He's able to argue on Tanoim, right? Yeah, I'm just saying that the wording, it doesn't look like the way arguments go. That's not the way arguments go. The wording of Rav. Okay. Oh, very good. Who says that? Others suggest that Rav did not, in this instance, dispute the views of these Tanaim of his own accord, but rather repeated the tradition received from his teachers that the views of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi are not accepted as halacha even in Tanaic times. The Ritva, see Kavit Shiurim 633. Okay. Okay. Amalei Rav Nachman Rav Huna. Rav Nachman says to Rav Huna. Rav Nachman was mainly by Shmuel, I think. Rav Huna is clearly a student of Rav. He says, Ishmiel le Rav, Habraisa, Titania, Edem Makarnas Ashtar, Vakashan Leshtachim, is Manrishan, Havahadabe. Rav Nachman tells Rav Huna that if Rav would have known the following Brisa, he would have retracted from his opinion. Brisa says that you don't need Bezdin to write the document with the date from the original loan. You don't need Bezdin to do that. Even witnesses can do that. What we'll do is, if someone lends money and to the borrower pays back half the money. So you can tear up that document, the original promissory note, and rewrite a document with witnesses that of the new loan. And we can make the date in that document going back to that time. So if Rav would know that opinion, then he wouldn't have said that we're not going to follow Rabbi Yehuda. He was going to say that he'll follow Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda agrees to that. It's interesting. In our Mishnah, it didn't discuss when the date was. When in the words of Rabbi Yossi, back in the Mishnah, Amalei Rabbi Yossi, Kach yafalai v'layera keiche shel zeh, that he should not lose his strength, referring to the lender should not lose his strength. It appears that Rabbi Yossi understood that Rabbi Yehuda would be saying that date in the document is the later date. And that's where Rabbi Yossi says, write a receipt. Because why should the lender lose out and have to write a later date in the document? And that means that the lien on the property of the borrower is gonna be less. It's gonna only start from a later date. And as Rabbi Yossi understood, Rabbi Yehuda wasn't saying that you're gonna go back and write from the original date. He said, why should the lender lose out? That was Rabbi Yossi's term. Now we have a brisa that says that, it doesn't say clearly Rabbi Yehuda, but that's assumed, that Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that even in the Mishnah, even that Rabbi Yehuda's own opinion is that the document is dated back on the original loan. Now the question is, so what did Rabbi Yossi mean when he says that he's going to be losing? What do you mean lose that? What's he losing? What did Rabbi Yossi mean? Maybe what it means he's losing is that he should compel. There should be something compelling to the borrower to pay back quickly, that he doesn't lose his shaver. Just that point is like to the disadvantage. It's to the advantage of the lender that the borrower may end up in a bad situation unless he pays back quickly. That's what Rabbi Yossi meant.
They saying that a receipt like changes the date of the loan.
Not the receipt. No, if you make a receipt, then you're using the original document. If you're rewriting the document, then you're going to be changing the date of the loan in the new document, because you write the date on the day that you're writing the document.
But we would put in today's date on there, we would put the loan took place on this day for $100. This day, $50 was received.
Right. Hill's bringing up a reasonable suggestion. Why don't you date the document that on this date we attest that a loan took place 6 months ago and $50 was paid up, and put all that in the document. Yeah, there's concern though when it comes to those complications. They're just going to do it quickly, and they're going to say, well, on this and this date, money was owed to so and so and whatever. Now, this discussion, Taisvis goes into this. What was the Rabbi Yehuda saying in the Mishnah? What was Rabbi Yossi responding? And this it's all spoken about. Okay. Amar Lei, so Rav Huna, in defense of Rav, says, Rav Nachman sort of attacked him. He said, if he would have known this information, he never would have said what he said. He says, no. Amar Lei, Shmi Alei. He knew that brisa. And he did not retract. Bishlema Beidina, we're on top of Kafayan Aleph. Everything works out well. It's all logical. If it would be the Bezdin that would be doing this, which is what the statement of Rav. Alime, Alime means strong. Lafkuim Maina. To extract money. The Bezdin has that strength, because Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker, they can take assets from here and put it there, and eminent domain and all of that stuff. For witnesses, they were told to write a document. Now they're going to write a new document, and how do they have the strength to do this? To write a document for taking it back to an earlier date on a new document? The Gemara says, really, what's the problem? They can't do that. Rav Yehuda says name of Rav. You can write 10 documents on one field. Witnesses. They can write another document. They can let this field was given to him on such and such a date. What's the problem? Let's say someone lost it. We're talking about someone that lost this document. He goes back and he says, that I lost my document, and the witnesses are allowed to write a new document for him.
But in the case of the Bezdin, that they rewrite the star and the witnesses sign, they're signing backdated. The two witnesses sign a backdate on it.
In the case of the Bezdin, they're going to write from this and this date. Yeah, back. They're going to go back. It's going to be
and what if somebody says, look, in this and this date, you were in another city, another 10 years where you want to be Mekayim the star, they're going to upslug these witnesses as liars. So, I mean, does it say in the document that this was done through Bezdin on this date, but we're giving you the strength of the date before, or it's the same exact language?
I don't know. It looks like it's on this and this date, going back 6 months. Money was lent, and they signed. That's what it looks like from the Gemara's discussion here. Because
so
otherwise,
they do have the current date on it.
I don't know.
Because if they don't, the witnesses could be upslugged very easily.
Right.
They could say you were in another town, you were this, you were that, you were sick. You could be Eidim Zayimim in 5 minutes.
Right. On the other hand, it looks like we're using the same Eidim. Because the expression here, once they accomplished their shlichus and they signed on the first document, how are they making a new document? It looks like we're using the same Eidim, so that would resolve that the Eidim Zayimim issue.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did we not just learn that in this situation, a duplicate document is not written?
Oh, very good. Yeah, excellent question. Yeah. I'm saying that because the Gemara is about to jump in on that. Yeah. Chaim Yeshikayach. That's the Eidim Zayimim issue is a good issue. Clarified. You follow what Chaim was saying?
A little bit.
Chaim was saying that if you have witnesses signing a document with a different date, then who says that they were in that city at that time? Some other witnesses could show up and say, "How could you say this is a good document?" Sure. The witnesses were with us in some other country. So the possible answer, is that maybe we're using the same witnesses, and that seems to be the reading of the. So they're the same ones that did it the whole. That would resolve that.
But without the same witnesses, you can't do this.
Yeah, it's not clear. I didn't go through the Rishonim here. The Rashbam doesn't bring it up, but from the reading of the text, it looks like we're using the same witnesses. Yeah. Then if with the witnesses, you would have Chaim's question. Rabbi Yosef says, so to answer your the Naftali, it says Rabbi Yosef Amar Shtar Matana. How are you allowed to write a new document for someone? You have all the problems that you have with the second document. The guy could come and do all these tricks, confiscate properties, and because you have certified copies of second document. It says no. Rabbi Yosef says we're talking about a shtar matan, talking about a gift. Now, in a gift, someone gives you a gift. You can't go back to the person and say that the gift that you gave me got confiscated, and now give me another gift. He says, well. Look, I was trying to be nice. I'm sorry it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I have no responsibility to give you a new gift, right? Yeah, there was a discussion about that. But here we're saying that there's no responsibility. He's not going to be able to confiscate property from someone else, from a gift. Going to the next purchaser and say, I received the gift first, and now okay. Rabba Amar B'shtar Shem B'chayis. It doesn't have to be a gift. Rabba says it could be a document of a sale. And you said that was a huge problem, a document of a sale, but it's a document of a sale that doesn't have the guarantee in it. That was also an option that we had yesterday. A document of a sale without a guarantee, so then nothing can come from it. All it does is it says is that if anyone were to come and say that this field is theirs, you should know that it's not. But I can't go and use this document to confiscate properties because I lost this document. There's no warranty on this. Okay. My brisa. What was that brisa that we brought up, that Reb Nachman brought up, that says that witnesses are allowed to rewrite a document, to rewrite an entire document on your own and change the date back to the original date. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Someone that owes 1,000 zuz. But he paid up 500 of them. And they write a new document from the original date. Div Rabbi Yehuda, that's the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, you see, that's exactly the Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah. The Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah said that you tear up the document. Rabbi Yehuda in the Brisa says you tear up the document and you write a new document. The Brisa, in other words, clarifies something that I didn't know from the Mishnah. That I didn't know when I was putting the date in there. The Brisa says I'm putting the date from the original date. That's the Brisa adds in that detail. The Mishnah didn't tell me that. Tivri Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says, the other option, you leave the document, but you write a receipt. Today, would they like write on the bottom of the document, like to make a line or something? They say half was paid, and then the lender signs on it or something. And then when he's going to pull out the document again, you'll see that the lender signed on it already.
But today we cover like both of them. Because, for example, when we're making payments on car or on a house, every month you get the statement. It'll say payment 30 out of 60, and then you get an email with a receipt when you make a payment. Oh, thank you for your payment. Because like you get both.
You get a receipt, right? There's a receipt and a statement you get, all in the same document. Yeah, that's how they do it. But if you don't have like these fancy mortgage, or credit card or that, if you just borrowed money from someone and you wrote a document, and now you're paying him every month, every Rosh Chodesh, you're paying him in shul. Where do you keep track of that? There's a
Today a lot of people use Zelle, so it's easy.
oh, because you can always go through the files. Yeah,
But if it's cash, then it's
cash
harder.
is right.
When I was younger, there were still places in certain circles where people would write out IOUs, and they were passed around like cash. They were considered good tender within
Wow.
these circles. Function somewhat like this, I recall. I'm not aware that goes on anymore, but I do remember it.
Wow. Okay.
Trying to figure out what exactly is the difference between a receipt and a promissory note. It seems to fulfill the same purpose. Okay, so it's
Right.
go by.
Right.
May
The
give it
difference
out.
is, and the concern is, do we put this like this onus on the borrower that he has to watch something because the lender may pull out the document and try to do fraud, collect more than he. Do we need to do that? That's
Who has the
who has the responsibility, right?
How does the bounce check work in this?
The balance check.
In other words, you lend money to somebody, he gives you a check back to pay it, and it bounces. So
Yeah, that just means that you went to collect and he didn't pay it. He still owes you the money. Yeah. Also, Reb Naftali, people today don't do the same. They don't use checks the same way. Checks they're not so common checks like it used to be. But
Right.
it used to be that you would get a check that said cash on it, and someone would say, "Well, I don't have any money here, but I do have a check that says cash on it for $50. Why don't you just take it?" They would give you like someone else's check that they gave. That was common. But you don't get that today. Maybe
That's
they
right.
changed something in the banks.
I think that probably the banks don't allow it to be made out to cash.
Oh, really?
I'm guessing.
No,
I'm guessing because why would it stop?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just the way we function. It's easier just to.
We still
Okay.
use cash.
Now it's Mipnei Shnei Dvarim Amru Kaisvin Shaver. And Rabbi Yossi says there's two reasons why we should use the receipt. Achas Kadei Sheyachov Lapayrei. Achas Kadei Sheyikim is Manrishin. There's two reasons. One is because we'd like to put some pressure on the borrower that he should pay back quickly. And you have to hold on to receipt. You feel the whole time that if I lose this receipt, the guy could come and let me get rid of this loan right away. I'm going to pay back the other 50 and I'll get the document back and then I can tear it up. He would like to do that. That's number one. Number two is Achas Kadei Man Rishon. Also, Rabbi Yossi says is that we would like that the lender should be able to collect from the borrower from the original date. And Rabbi Yossi is saying that if you're going to write a new document, then you probably have a later date on it. And we don't want that. The Gemara says, one second, what's he's jumping in over here? Rabbi Yehuda Nami Mizman Rishon Kamar, but Rabbi Yehuda said that that you write the original date also. Rabbi Yossi is saying, I'll tell you why you should do it my way. My way is better. And Rabbi Yehuda says, well, I was saying the same thing. I mean, your way is better. I was also saying that you say from the says Hachi Kamalei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. No, Rabbi Yossi meant like this. Imizman Rishon Kamrit. If you also meant that you would rewrite the document from the original date, so poligna olach b'chada, then I have one reason to argue with you, and that's to put pressure on the borrower to pay back quicker. Because we don't want to make him too comfortable that he has more time to pay. We don't want to, that's not what we're doing. We'd like to make it that an incentive for him to pay back. But if you're telling me that you write from the document from the second date, from the new date, so paligna alach b'tarti, then I have two reasons why I argue with you. Because why should you change the date for the lender that now we can't collect from the properties that he had owned earlier? Tanu Rabbanan. Start in a brisa. Shtar shezmane kasav b'Shabbos oy ba'asara b'Tishrei shtar ma'ucher v'kasha. I've seen this actually. But the reason why I've seen this is because they use English dates. If you use a Hebrew date, in the date, when you look in the calendar, the date was Shabbos, or the date was Yom Kippur. They say, how did you write a document on Shabbos, Yom Kippur? You can't write. So when was this document written? Now, if you're using a secular date, if you use December, what's today, the 12th? If you write December 12th, so Shabbos is going to be 13th, 14th, right? Shabbos is going to be the 14th. So if you say December 14th, we'll say, well, it was written Mighty Shabbos before 12 p.m., before 12 a.m., right? That's what we would think. No problem. December 14th, before 12 a.m., that's what. But if you're going to say today's Yud Aleph, so Yud Beis, Yud Gimel. If you'd write Yud Gimel Kislev, then what do you mean you wrote it Mitzvah Shabbos? Mitzvah Shabbos is already Yud Dalet. What do you say? You wrote it Friday, but Friday is Yud Beis. So you wrote. How did you write Yud Gimel? Because the date in the sunset is the same, so you can't get it in there.
You could say what, like you said, you could either say Motzei Shabbos or Erev Shabbos.
Yeah, but so why do you put the wrong date in? Because Erev Shabbos is a different day. In the secular, it switches at 12 a.m. But in the so
it's punching dates.
So there's a problem here with this document. So the Rabbi Yehuda holds shtar ma'ucher v'kasher, that this is considered a post-dated document, and that's acceptable. Rabbi Yehuda, that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a post-dated document is not a problem. What's the problem with the post-dated document? That maybe a problem with the predated document is that someone may have purchased the property from the borrower. Everything is clear. The borrower had no debts before he borrowed. So at that time, when this purchaser came in, he had sold the property to him. He had no debts. It was titled. Everything was clear. Then he borrowed money. Now there's a lien on all his property. But when he predates the check, he predates the promissory note. Now the person that had bought the property clear, now now looks like there's a lien on that property.
Right.
So predated is going to be puzzled. But post-dated, what's the problem with the post-dated? Someone brought a property later? Well, yeah, there's a lien on all his property. Whatever he acquires, there's going to be a lien on it. So there's no fraud over there. So post-dated is kosher. Rabbi Yossi says it's possible. Okay. Now, what we're doing over here with Rabbi Yehuda is that we have two options. How it definitely wasn't written on Shabbos and Yom Kippur. The question is, was it predated or was it post-dated? So Rabbi Yehuda says, you assume that it's kosher. We make it post-dated. Rabbi Yossi says, no, it's puzzle. Now, Rabbi Yossi could be saying puzzle either because we don't assume that it's kosher. We assume that it's predated. Or he says it's puzzle that predated and post-dated is puzzle for some reason. Okay, let's see. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda says, One second. There was a story that came to you. Rabbi Yossi was the Rav in Tzipori. Remember, he had to run away with the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai criticized the Romans and Rabbi Yehuda praised the Romans. Rabbi Yossi was silent, and they said that Reb Yehuda that praised us is going to be the Reish HaMedabrim, the first to speak. I heard recently someone, I don't know if he joked, but he said Rabbi Yehuda said the Tzach Hadash Ba'achav. He says you should always should keep your speeches short. So he's the Reish HaMedabrim. He speaks short. The Reb Shimon is going to be put to death, and Rabbi Yossi is going to be exiled. So Rabbi Yossi is exiled. Where was he exiled? He was exiled to Tzipori. So Rabbi Yossi he says, Rabbi Yehuda says there was a story in Tzipori where you actually said there was a document that was written on Yom Kippur or on Shabbos, and you said that the document was kosher. As Amalai, he says, I only said it was kosher specifically on such a time because really I hold that a post-dated document that doesn't say that it's post-dated is puzzle. But over here, the document says that it's post-dated by saying that it was written on Shabbos. Obviously, it's post-dated. So if you're letting them know that it's post-dated, then fine. But if you're not letting them know that it's post-dated and you just made it post-dated, then that's not clear. You just put a later date. Okay. So why is he arguing with Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda also said that it's kosher, and Rabbi Yossi says that it's not kosher. But and Rabbi Yossi says no, it's kosher in that case. But Rabbi Yehuda was talking about that case. Amar Rapidas. Rapidas comes in to explain. Hakol Maidim, everyone would agree. Shemiskakno la'inaisei shel star. Everyone would say that if we look at the calendar and we see that the date is Shabbos or Yom Kippur, that we would assume that it's a post-dated document and it's going to be kosher. Loi nechlaku, the whole machlekes Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda here is b'shtar ma'ucher ba'alma, in a regular post-dated document, that it doesn't say that it was written on a Shabbos, or it says it was written on the 15th of the month. And the 15th of the month comes out, what's today, the 11th? Yud Aleph. It was written on Yud Aleph. And Yud Aleph comes out on a Thursday. That's what it says. Is that kosher or puzzle? So really, it was post-dated. It was really written on the 10th. It was really the transaction took place on the 10th. But you wrote the 11th. Okay. Or you could do it. It could be a month. It could be 6 months, whatever. You wrote a later date. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reason. Rabbi Yehuda says that what could happen? We don't write receipts anyway. Nothing bad could come out of this. Let me read the next opinion. I'll explain the problem. Listen to the problem Rabbi Yossi is concerned about. We had this maybe a week ago or something, that if you write a document and you put a later date on the document, then let's say you're lending money, put a later date on the document. No, I don't want to use the lending money because that's going to come up soon. Let's say it was a sale of property. So then you sold the property in Nissan, but the document says Iyar, later. It has post-dated. Now, meanwhile, let's say I sold you the property. Then I come up with money and I say, you know what? I sold you the property, but now I have more. I really want that property back. I have money. Let me buy it back from you. And I give you money to buy it back. Okay, so I bought it back from you. So now, you come to me with the document in ER and you tell me that I know you sold me a property and you bought it back, but I bought it again. So I shouldn't use that case. I should use the case of the lending. Let's go back to the lending. The lending would go like this. I lend you money. I lend you money. And then you pay me back early. I lend you money. The document says that I lent it to you in Iyar, and really I lent it to you in Nisan, a month earlier. You pay me back early. So I may give you, let's say you pay me $50 early, not 100. You pay me 50. So I give you a receipt. So if I give you a receipt, then it's all good. When I'm going to come to you in Iyar, oh, no, what's going to happen is, if I write a receipt for you that you paid 50, when I'm going to come to you in Iyar, the receipt is going to say that on the 15th of Nisan you paid 50, but in Iyar you owe me 100. I lent you again. If I have to write a new document, so then what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm going to come to you again. I'm going to tell you owe me 50. But if I write a receipt and keep the original document has the original amount. And when I'm going to come to you, I'm going to end up collecting more than the receipt, because the receipt was the actual date and the promissory note was a post dated. That's the problem with Rabbi Yossi's comment. So because Rabbi Yossi holds that Kaisvin Shaver, see, he holds that a Shtar Mu'ucher is going to be a problem. A post dated document is going to be a problem. Because the receipt, the combination of a receipt and post dated document is conflicting. But if there's no receipts, then there's no problem if you post data. Okay. Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. Afilu l'man damer kaisvin shaver. Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua says, this is a later Amira. We've been discussing so far Rav Yehuda and Rav Yossi. These are Tanaim. He comes in and he says, Afilu l'man damer kaisvin shaver. Even according to Rav Yossi, that holds that you're allowed to write a receipt, hani mili apalga. That would only be for a partial loan. Abalakula. But if, let's say, you're ready to pay back the whole $100 that you borrowed, the entire thing, then I don't write a receipt for you. Rather, you don't pay it back. Akula loy. If I'm not ready to give you the document because I lost the document, so then you don't have the obligation to pay. I mean, you have an obligation to pay, but you can hold the money until I'm ready to give the document. I lost the document. It's my fault. A promissory note. I lost the. If you're not going to give me back the whole promissory note, so then, okay. The Gemara says "V'lohi," but it's not so. Afilu akula kasfinan. We would write a receipt even if the lender lost the promissory note, but the person is admitting that he owes the money. The borrower is admitting, but he would pay it back, and we would give him a receipt. Had lent money to Rababa. Asla kami to Rab Chanina Bar Papi. They come to Rab Chanina Bar Papi. Amalei havli zuzi. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says, "Give me the money." Says to Rababa. Amalei havli shtari. Shkol zuzach. He says, "No problem. I have the money. Just give me the document." Amalei. So Rab Yitzchak Bar Yosef says, "Shtar cheirchesli. I've lost the document. But don't worry. I'm going to write you a receipt." Amalei. So he says, Rav Shmuel Damri Tavayo in case from Shaver. I don't go by that. Rav and Shmuel both say that we don't write receipts. Get me the document, or you're not getting your money. Amar, so he says, who said over here? This must be Rab Chanina Bar Papi. Right? Man Yoavlan may after the Rav Shmuel Rav Ninan Ba'ainan. If you would give me the dirt of Rav Shmuel, I would put it in my eyes. In other words, I have ultimate respect for Rav and Shmuel. However, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish damri tavayu kaisvin shaver. But Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish both say that we do write receipts, so we're going to write a receipt. And even Ravin that came and he said in the name of Rabbi Lai also says that we write receipts. They're all Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, so they all hold that we write receipts. Mistabra the kaisvin shaver. And it's logical that we write receipts. Because if it went into your mind that we don't write receipts, if you don't write receipts, so if the guy loses his document, the borrower is just going to eat and rejoice. That what's gonna happen? He never has an obligation to pay back. Maskefla Abaya. Abaya says that's your raya. So the borrower shouldn't rejoice. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? You write receipts. Then Abed Shaver says if the borrower loses his receipt, the lender eats and rejoices that he's gonna collect again. No, it's not a comparison. I mean, the Mefarshim say it's not a comparison because one of them is when he actually owes money. The other one is when he could do fraud. He doesn't actually owe money. So the comparison here is not, it's not perfectly symmetrical. And so who do you want to lose out, right? The borrower, in the first case, the borrower really owes the money. The lender unfortunately lost the receipt. He had a fire in his house v'shalom. The receipt got burned. He lost his document. The document got burned. The other one, the lender loses his receipt, but he in reality does not owe. No, the borrower loses his receipt. Borrower loses his receipt. In reality, he doesn't owe the money. Your concern is that maybe the lender is a crook and he's gonna go collect again. But that's
so that the lender loses document, so now we put the burden on the borrower that now he has to keep the receipt forever.
Yeah.
Because the lender can always come back with when he finds the document.
yeah.
Say,
And we're hoping that he doesn't. Right. Amalei Rava. So Rava says no. That's not a problem because Eved Leiva Lishmalva. The borrower is like enslaved to the lender, and so therefore he's the one that needs to end up holding on to the receipt because he really has to pay it back. That's his debt that he has to pay back, and unfortunately the promissory note was lost, but you still owe the money, and we'll have to give you a receipt.
How do you know how much you have to pay?
Here we're dealing with the person agrees to the amount. He agrees to the amount. If there would be a conflict, if he would say no, yeah, the borrower agrees to the amount. If there would be a conflict, but the borrower says no, I don't owe you money, it would be very hard to prove now because there's no note.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it over here. We're up to Tanan Hassam. Okay,
So the
We're a
13th.
whole page in.
almost a page ahead. Yeah.
The 13th